totally changed the story now that significant Democrats are pulled into the orbit. Now, all of a sudden, the story's changed about accountability. Whether you love this, what's happened or hate what's happened with regard to exposure and transparency, you think it could have been better, could have been worse. I understand. I get it. However, President Trump signed the act that put all this stuff out there. And now the liberal media folks, all of a sudden the story's changed. Now all of a sudden they're not so much about accountability anymore. Their headlines are awfully weird about something that happened. I'm going to get to that. And also, I was right yesterday on the Guthrie case. I had said to you in the morning, reading the tea leaves, that this sheriff out there is not being very cooperative, folks. I'm really sorry. And someone's got to call it for what it is. And I'm going to do it. We have a $12 billion FBI in a lab for a reason. Use it. I'll play a clip from another excellent law enforcement commentator on Fox who had some commentary on this as well. I got a big show for you today. Obviously, a ton to talk about. Another one of those enormous news days. And it's not a Netflix show, folks. You don't just walk in there as the FBI. FBI, especially, we're taking over. It's not the way this works. Today's show brought to you by Chapter. Listen, you see how these government programs work. Unfortunately, being on the inside, you see there's so much waste and abuse and sometimes outright fraud, sometimes criminality with these programs. They're a lot more broken than you can even imagine. One of the most broken systems we highlight on the show all the time is Medicare. They just have not been good stewards of your money in the government. Most people think they're getting accurate information. Some Medicare agents might push Medicare Advantage plans because that's what their commissions are, not because they're actually best for you. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Check them out. Chapter, like a chapter in a book. Chapter doesn't work for big insurance, and they don't take marching orders from Washington. They're independent. They can help walk you through every option. Original Medicare, Supplement, Advantage, Part D. They'll tell you exactly what you gain and what you give up and what it really costs. One woman, Jill, said her Chapter advisor showed her options and she didn't even see on Medicare's own website. Doesn't that sound like a broken system to you? It does to me. If you want more clarity, here's what to do. Get ready. Dial pound 250 on your phone and say Medicare help. The average senior who connects with Chapter saves about $1,100 a year just by getting honest advice. Can't beat that. So if you're on Medicare or getting close, don't guess. Dial pound 250 and say Medicare help. Again, that's pound 250 and say Medicare help. Go to your phone, dial pound 250 and say Medicare help. Thank you, Chapter Gee. Nice. 2 weeks. We're getting in gear. We had we got the bell going. Everything's going smooth. Production team knocking it out of the park. First, before I get to the other, what I had opened up the show with, I just want to address this. There's a lot of confusion out there, and I want to hat tip Paula. Paula told me, Dan, I think you need to explain this to the audience. Having been a member of the NYPD and federal law enforcement twice, you are the best positioned person to explain this. There's a lot of questions out there. Like, why doesn't the FBI just come in there and take over? Ken, we're talking about the Guthrie case just briefly because you're going to get it wall to wall on cable news. And we have a lot of other things to discuss as well. Tragic case, I get it. But I've got a lot to get to. But ladies and gentlemen, I promise you, even when there is almost unquestionable federal jurisdiction, you still should have to be, because it's the right thing to do, have to be cooperative with local law enforcement. You don't have a choice. They're typically the first persons on the scene. I'll give you an example. Bank robbery, right? Federal charge. If there's a bank robbery, the FBI is typically not the first agency on the scene. It'll be police officers, sheriffs, tribal police officers, territorial police officers, local police officers, state police officers. You don't just come in like a bull in a china shop. I don't care how they did it in the past. They didn't do it when we were there, Cash and I. And the guys, you work pretty well. I mean, I'm not saying that, I'm not implying anything by that. You don't just come in and flash a badge like you see in the movies. You guys ever see this? These FBI shows, Special Agent Jones, get the F out of here. We're in charge. That's not the way this works, man. One, you got to show some respect for these local police officers, state police officers who do amazing job. They're the ones on the street putting their asses on the line every single day. You just walk in there and we're taking over. However, we made it a priority during our time there to, be over the top with our offering of help to local law enforcement. I did a field office visit down to the Miami field office. We brought in all the local sheriffs. My local sheriff was there. And I said, guys, there were about 25, 26 there. Ladies, I said, please tell me how we can better serve you. Tell me. I want to hear it. And we had some great back and forth. But it's two ways, folks. It's a two-way street. The sheriff out there in Arizona, in Pima, is really not helping. You have an FBI lab that is the best in the world at this. That's what they do. You paid for it. It's your lab, folks. It's your FBI. You pay for it. This is a republic. It's not a monarchy. It's yours. Why would you not send potential material like the glove and elsewhere that could have material on it that would be usable to the best lab in the world? Why would you not do that? It doesn't make any sense. Here's Randy Sutton, a really great law enforcement commentator. I'm not sure if we've ever met. Again, I don't know, but he's done some great work on Fox addressing exactly this in this cut. I need you to see. Check this out.
How do you think this is working with the FBI and sheriff, the coordination, the leadership? How is it viewed inside from your contacts?
Now, that's a great question because this is something that's concerned me from the very beginning. Of course, following this case from the outset, beginning when the sheriff did give his press conferences, the way he gave these press conferences was startling. It was unprofessional. He seemed to be out of his depth, quite honestly. He gave information, then he walked back information, then he said this, he said that. Clearly under his leadership, the scene was not secured properly. We're now understanding that the FBI wasn't called in until several days later, that the scene itself was compromised. This is bad leadership.
You know, I get it. There's always the cliched Monday morning quarterbacking, all of us. Listen, it happened to me. Fair enough. But we all have the right to speak out. I'm not telling you every decision I made was absolutely peerless. I told you I had no regrets on my first show. Why? Not because I didn't make mistakes, but because I learned from them. I wouldn't be a better person if I didn't make mistakes and learn from them. Therefore, I wouldn't change them because I didn't make the mistake again. But I think we have to be honest here. It's time for some cooperation. Obviously, the case has not gone swimmingly because of this lack of coordination, because we still haven't found the person. Maybe it's time to just put egos aside and do the right thing. By the way, Randy Sutton, again, I don't know, but he was not an FBI agent. He's got no dog in the fight. He's not there to protect the reputation of the FBI. If you screw up, we screw up. No time for games, man. Do the right thing. All right, moving on. So again, yeah, the Epstein files are out there, elated that they are, because now you can see what everyone else saw. President Trump signed this piece of legislation. It's out there. Again, did everything go swimmingly with this? No, folks. If you're waiting for me to sit here and tell you all the time, everything was great all the time. My whole first show, I've now covered this 3 times as the news breaks on it. And you see some of the stuff that we saw that's out there. I covered in the first show, or was it the first or maybe the second show? I'm not sure, but last week, you can go look. I covered a tweet by the great Mike Davis, an amazing attorney, where he covered what the problems were initially. Grand jury material, other things like that, CSAM type material that was there that, it's not even, you're not going to put that out there. However, there were some problems. That's what led to a lot of these debates. Now that it's out there, I'm elated because you can see everything. You deserve to see everything at this point. The case has national attention because it's a really tragic, disgusting, horrific case that rightfully so has encompassed the American public's mind for a long time, me included. But it's weird how the liberal media people, after President Trump signed the bill, the legislation, that's just a fact. How we got there, you can argue about all day. You can. But all they wanted was accountability. And then all of a sudden, I got tons of tweets about this in text last night. One of them from a friend said, Dan, you were right again. Look who's back. Guy, you remember the fixer? Guy knew right away. I said, Guy, title this thing The Fixer. He knew right away. Remember Obama's fixer, his lawyer in the White House, one of them, Catherine Rumler? Catherine Rumler was a player in just about every Obama administration scandal. I don't have time for it today, but if you go back and just put it in the search engines, you'll see some of the Rumble shows in the past. We covered this at length. Benghazi, the IRS scandal, the Secret Service scandal. Rumler's in the middle of all of it. All of it. So we used to call her the fixer, Catherine Rumler. Now, again, folks, everybody has the constitutional right to speak out and defend themselves. I'm just telling you, where is the demands for accountability from Obama's team? Obama, I haven't heard say much about this at all. What am I getting at? Here's Alex Berzowitz, who's a great guy, put out a tweet on this. Hey, Wall Street Journal, here's a better headline for you. Obama's close friend and former White House counsel, Catherine Rumler, is out at Goldman Sachs after her deep connection to Jeffrey Epstein was exposed by documents released by the Trump administration. No wonder Biden and Kamala didn't make an effort to release these files when they were in power. The Journal and others. Why aren't you mentioning that this was a key figure in the Obama administration? You're just mentioning it was Goldman's top lawyer? You don't think that's important? It seems all these liberal media outlets, when they speculated about information about Donald Trump that turned out to well be, bullshit, and they were all over that. I talked about it 3 times, only been on the air 2 weeks.